Welcome to our Posh podcast. I'm your host today, Gabrielle, with my co-hosts. So many exciting co-hosts because everyone is really interested in today's topic, the flat Earth, with David Weiss. And my co-hosts, welcome Marcella.
Hi.
My daughter, my son Gino.
I'm back.
And,
Yeah.
our co-host Cruz.
What's up?
And thank you, Spider. He's still helping us with the technical stuff. He's always so wonderful. Thank you so much. And then welcome to our
You
incredible...
didn't say Miss Polly.
Oh, Miss Polly, I forgot. I didn't see you on there. Sorry, Miss Polly. And
Hello.
our guest today, Mr. David Weiss with the Flat Earth Podcast.
Sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
Sounds crazy. And you contacted us to come on the show, and we were like, a Flat Earth Podcast. I am so excited.
I was really excited when I saw the message.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cruz was all for it.
Something really interesting. To
Cruz,
talk
you're a
about.
little quiet. Are you next to your microphone?
All right, can you
Oh,
hear me
there you
now?
Oh,
Is
there
that
you
better?
go.
Oh, much better, much
All
better.
right.
There you go.
Now, my son Gino usually co-hosts sometimes with us, and lately he's been so busy he hasn't been on here, but I had to have him come on this show because this has been a subject
In our house.
in our house for years and years and years. So,
Absolutely. So who's bringing it up in your house?
Gino, my brother, he is a very big on the flat earth.
To Spider's disapproval in the back.
Well, we're gonna do with our goal here today is to bring everybody to one page. Okay,
Oh.
that's our goal. Will we get there? We will see.
We'll see.
well, tell me a little bit about you, David. Like, tell me about what do you do in normal life every day? Like, tell us a little bit about your background.
Normal life.
Besides the flat earth.
Before Flat Earth, I was just a normal guy who grew up in the Fairfield County here on the East Coast. Worked in corporate America, left corporate America, started my own company, super successful company. I was doing a podcast on the side,
What
looking
company?
into. My company was called. It's a solar development company, a commercial
Oh, wow.
solar finance and development company.
Very cool.
And I left that. I had two partners, and I walked away from that entire thing to spread this message, because the way the world is going right now, if people don't wake up to this truth, we're never going to get our freedoms back. So I got a message from God or something that said, walk away from it all, which is insane.
Right.
I mean, I had everything that I've worked my entire life for, making more money than I ever thought I could make. And I walked away from it all to be ridiculed for my beliefs on the earth. But
So
that
how
has
long
changed.
ago?
And
How long ago did
that was I walked away from the company and just at the beginning of the COVID thing.
Oh, wow.
And that was beginning of 2020, right?
Pretty recent then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's when but I've been looking into flat earth since 2015, 2014, maybe.
Okay.
It's about when I started.
Well, so you're an OG flat earther. Nice.
OG.
Nice. So real quick, when we hear flat earth, nobody just wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I want to be a flat earther and I alienate myself from my family and friends. You have to see it. And then you're like, oh my God, how did I miss this? It's one of those things that we're so programmed into not seeing that some people just can't see it. And, when you think about flat earth, if you Google flat earth, that's the worst thing you could do, because they're the controllers of this world are going to feed you garbage. They're going to bring you to the flat earth society. They're going to bring you to just nonsensical stuff. The flat earth society is controlled disinformation. You get pictures like this. Look what flat earthers think. We're a pancake floating in a heliocentric solar system. No flat earther thinks that. Nobody. Only globe earthers think flat earthers think that. And that's crazy. I would laugh at a flat earther too if they believe that. So if we're not a pancake floating in space, what are we? Well, we're more like a pond. Okay. We're more like a pond. A pond is where water accumulates in the low spot in the land, and the edge of the pond is where the land is higher than the water. Very simple, right? So here's the flat earth pond. It's just all the world's oceans make a big pond. All of the continents are the islands. They're all surrounded by water. But that water needs a container. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat. and they need a container. If I had a bathtub filled with water and I snapped my fingers, the tub was gone, so's the water. If you got rid of the edge of a lake, the water's gone too. The edge of our world pond is Antarctica. We live in the Antarctic basin. Antarctica is likely bigger than all of the oceans and all of the continents combined. It's not an island or a continent at the bottom of a ball. It's the land that surrounds our world, and it is the container for the world pond.
Oh, wow.
How's that?
How did you even get into this to start? Like, what made you start to question?
Fall down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I was doing Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole conspiracy podcast, and I was looking into all sorts of conspiracies, and people started sending me flat Earth stuff, and I was like, yeah, that's crazy. I wouldn't look at it, and then I was forced to look.
So tell me, because you touched on that a little bit earlier, this other podcast, that was your first podcast? Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole was a podcast looking into conspiracies. And then when people brought Flat Earth up, I was like, that's crazy. And I actually banned them from our social media for being so stupid. No,
right?
way.
Yeah. So
why is it that flat earthers have this stigma of, being kind of, not smart?
Well, because the idea of what flat Earth is to people that haven't looked into either the globe model or the flat Earth model, you would have to assume flat Earthers aren't smart if they believe all of the nonsense that globe Earthers think flat Earthers believe. But that's a straw man argument. They gaslight us. None of the stuff that they say about us is true. I mean, they're like, flat Earthers think that the Earth is rising at 9.8 meters per second, and that causes gravity. No flat Earther thinks that. Only globe believers, people that haven't done any research, people that have Googled flat Earth gravity and then watched Bill Nye, the lion guy with the bow tie, brainwash you into thinking flat Earthers are insane. None of that is true.
So what are some of the proofs that you have that make you believe that the Earth is not round or it's flat?
All right. Well, first thing is, no matter how high you go, the horizon is always at eye level and flat. There is no curvature. So we've been brainwashed to, the Earth is so big, you're an amoeba on top of a basketball and you can't see. It looks flat. If you zoom into a large ball close enough, it looks flat. Well, that they say that's true, but they say we can see boats disappearing over the horizon. And when a boat disappears over the horizon, it's all due to angular resolution limits of our eyes. As I zoom in here on this horizon, all of a sudden you can see this boat. Okay. You couldn't see it before. Now this boat is far enough away where it should be behind the horizon, but it's not. As I zoom out, you'll watch the boat disappear from the bottom up. And that's because of several things. It's the resolution limits of your eyes. It's the angular size of the bottom of the boat. It's the waves. It's the atmosphere. It's a whole bunch of things that make it disappear. It's not going over a curve. We can see too far. And in many cases, there's submarine captains that say when there's submarines at the bottom of the ocean, they can see another submarine over 100 miles away. Well, if the Earth was a ball the size that they tell us, there would be a mountain over a mile high in between them. And sonar doesn't climb a mountain, go down a mountain, hit a submarine, and then come back to say, hey, there's a submarine there. Sonar goes straight. Sonar doesn't refract. On the surface of the water, they can take a pencil-thin laser beam and light up a boat over 100 miles away. There should be a hump of water 6,600 feet high in between them. But there isn't.
Wasn't there a documentary about that kind of did that project with a laser and it didn't do what it was supposed to do?
Yeah, so you're talking about Behind the Curve,
Yes.
which is a Netflix deception. Where it was made by people that weren't very they weren't being fair. They actually edited the movie to be deceptive, and we're in the process of suing them right now.
No way.
The experiment that you're talking about was we came up with this great experiment. we go next to a canal and we put up 3 pieces of plywood and we level them off with the surface of the water. So we know they're at the same level. And in each piece of plywood, we have a hole like 6 inches around at the same level. 1, 2, 3. If the earth is curved, the middle one should be higher and you shouldn't be able to shine a laser through it. Okay. So we had this whole thing, we set it up. And the lasers spread out over distance, but you don't notice that because perspective makes you think that they're a nice thin straight line. But if you're at the other end of that, the laser could be 10 feet wide. So we have what's called the laser condenser, very expensive piece on a very expensive laser. And it melted. It got so hot, it melted and we couldn't use it. So while we're there, we're like, hey, well, let's just see if we can hold a light. And we held the light and the guy at the other end couldn't see it. And we held it up and he goes, oh, I see it. And we're like, and Jaron, the guy who was doing it, he goes, interesting. That's where they cut the movie. Then he brought it down and he could see it again. He goes, oh, I see it now. And they left that part out of the movie. Everybody walked away from that saying, this didn't prove anything. There was globers there, ball earth people, flat earth people. And like, everyone's like, this didn't prove anything. Although the fact that we could see it down did indicate that there is no curvature, but we all agreed to walk away with no conclusion, but they edited it to make it look like we were hiding the truth.
So there was still no conclusion at the end of the.
Well, on that experiment, but we have laser experiments that are going over frozen lakes, and we did one in I forget where it was. It was up north last year, and they went I think like 20 miles. We have tons of distance experiments where we can see way too far, things that we can see that are way over the horizon. For example, here's a viewing spot in Illusion, France. And this is out looking out over the ocean, and we would think that this is the horizon. And out here is Mount Canigou. And Mount Canigou is 175 miles away. From this viewing height, with the size of the earth that they tell us, the top of Mount Canigou should be a mile below this curvature. Well, we can't see it. Interesting. The problem is the light from the sun bouncing off the mountain isn't strong enough to push through all of the thickness of the soup of the atmosphere. But on a couple days a year, when the sun is in between its migration between the tropics, it lines up with the viewing spot and Mount Canigou. And all of a sudden, you can see Mount Canigou when it's backlit. And right here, the top of the mountain should be a mile below the curvature. Okay. Now, this is not a mirage, because in a moment you'll see the sun go beyond the mountain and the mountain just cuts out the sun. This shows that it's not a mirage. The only thing the globe people say is the mountain and the sun are both over the horizon. The sun set a long time ago. It's just refracting up and stopping right at eye level. That's nonsense.
For people that don't know the curvature equation, do you want to explain that?
Well, the curvature equation and the curvature equation only works for the first couple thousand miles, but we don't even need it for that. You need it for 10 miles, for 100 miles, 1,000 miles, whatever. And it's 8 inches per mile squared. And the reason that you square the miles is if you're at the top of the ball and you move out, this drop here is whatever it is. And then you go out farther, the drop is more, because as you go, the earth is sloping away. So you have to square the miles. And it's 1 mile is 8 inches. 2 miles is 2 times 2 times 8. So 4 times 8 is 32 inches. 3 miles is 6 feet. And it goes on from there. 10 miles is 66 feet of curvature. That's the globe math. So here's one of the things that I did that got me, to realize, I went out and tested this myself, is I have a buoy off my beach, which is just over 11 miles away, right on 11 miles. So I said, I'll round down 10 miles. And I checked out the curvature formula. It said 66 feet, but there's some globe trolls out there. They're like, oh no, you have to measure. It's only half of that because, the object is halfway down and you're halfway down. So it's only half of the distance. That's completely wrong, but I'll still give it to them because I don't need it. 33 feet of curvature. I sat down, I got my super zoom camera, zoomed in. Not only could I see the entire buoy, I could see the surface of the water for tens of miles beyond the buoy, where there should be hundreds of feet of curvature. It's not there. No curvature, no ball.
So can I ask, I just want to know, what is the point of telling people the world is round if it's not?
That's
a great question.
Too.
I was just curious because why would they do that?
There's still a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, do you want to answer that first? Or do you want to ask other questions?
No, I want you to answer that one first.
Yeah. So what's the difference? Why the lie? You know, the shape of the earth doesn't matter. I still have to go to work tomorrow. The shape of the earth doesn't matter. It's the lie that matters. It's the controllers of this world. Our history is very, very, very different than we've been taught.
Knowledge is power.
You know, knowledge, yeah. And so they don't want us knowing who we are, where we are, or what we are. They want us thinking we are spinning out of control, right? In the heliocentric model, the globe model, you're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. So when you're watching the sunset, you think it's going down because you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound. That's insane. You're also orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles, chasing the sun at over 500,000 miles an hour. And that entire system, it could be moving millions of miles an hour sideways. There's all different numbers. Is it 1 million? Is it 10 million? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter because none of that is happening. So why the lie? If you believe that, you're spinning out of control, you're lost in space, you are living in an infinite, godless, or distant God space vacuum where an asteroid could take you out at any time. That doesn't fit very settling. That takes away your power. The truth of the matter is that you're not in a random universe, that you are at the center of creation. The earth is the foundation of the universe, and that we are here and nobody has dominion over us. There's nothing to be afraid of. Right. But they've divided us. They've taken our humanity away. They divided us by countries after the reset in the 1800s. They divided us by genders, by sexes, by races, by political parties, by sports teams. They're dividing. Now it's vaxxers, anti-vaxxers. They're dividing us unbelievably because they know that once we're together, we might figure out that they have no authority over us. If everybody woke up tomorrow and said, we're no longer listening to the governments and all of their dumb rules, the government couldn't do anything about it. It would be over. The only power they have is in your head. Okay. It's the same thing with their stupid money, right? American dollars are worthless. You can light a fire with them. That's probably the most utility thing you could do with them. But people believe they're worth money and they're willing to trade you for gasoline, for food, for whatever. So it's all a belief system and they're trying to control our minds. They want us living in fear, right? Fear of asteroids, fear of nuclear bombs, fear of terrorists, fear of running out of food, running out of water. All of that is nonsense. Yeah. Oh, and the fake alien invasion. That's coming too. They're pushing that. Right. But what are, their idea of aliens is insane. Coming from a distant star, the closest star is 25 trillion miles away. Okay. Do you guys know how far 25 trillion miles is? Because you don't, is my answer. Let me ask you guys a question.
Too many zeros.
If I paid you guys $1 every second, nonstop, how many years would it take before you're a trillionaire?
Oh God, I've seen
Want
this
to
on
take a guess?
TikTok,
Just take a guess.
Don't make me math.
No, don't do the math. Just take a guess. Take a stab in the dark.
100.
100 years. Very close. 31,000 years. Okay. So the closest, now you know how big a trillion is. The closest star is 25 trillion miles away, and the other ones are magnitudes farther. That's a problem in itself because we can't see things that far. That things would be, their angular size, scientifically, provably, testably, would be too small, and we couldn't see it. So how do we see all these stars? And that's because everything we see is within the Earth system, circling above us. We live in this pond.
Okay,
and Antarctica is the shoreline around us. What's that?
I have a question that's just kind of bothering me. So, because I grew up, years ago. So the whole space system. So all these pictures are a lie.
Yeah.
NASA is a lie.
Yeah.
NASA is a lie.
That's what I'm like, really?
Let me show you. Let me show you one thing.
All of that growing up.
Yeah, me too. And it's that's the foundation of our world. I'm going to destroy NASA in 2 minutes. Let me just finish this.
Okay.
So what is out here? Well, if we live here in this inner space, this would be the outer space across the Earth plane. What's out there? Maybe this is Antarctica. Maybe there's more land in the outer space. What is more? More is extra. What is land? Territory. Extra territory. If somebody lived on the extra territory in the outer space and they came to visit us in the inner space, what would you call them? An extra terrestrial.
Yeah.
Right here on the Earth plane.
Interesting.
And they're only coming from a couple thousand miles away, not trillions of miles through the vacuum of space, which is just nonsense. The vacuum of space is a physical impossibility.
And that's why we're not allowed to visit Antarctica or do any kind of, exploring over there.
Nobody's allowed to go beyond 60 degrees south, which is this line. And if you try, you'll be intercepted by warplanes, by warships, threatened to be sunk, shot out of the sky.
I didn't even know this. Why?
Yeah, this is called the Antarctic Treaty. And it's been what's that?
Is it 1947?
No, 1959, the Antarctic Treaty. When all the countries were killing each other, fighting over resources, they said, Animal Bird flew out over Antarctica and said, hey, I found land bigger than the United States, filled with resources that no human has ever set eyes upon. And then they'll go, we're going to sign a treaty. Nobody can go there because we can't disturb the penguins. Okay. That's what happened. A dozen countries signed on then, and now all the countries have signed on since. And you can't even question this treaty until the year 2041.
No way.
You know what I find interesting?
Well, go ahead, deforest the Amazon. That's fine.
I find this very interesting. David and I have not spoken before this podcast. He has not spoken to any one of us here. Yet, anytime we say something, he has slides come up there as if we had prepared this podcast for weeks.
I'll tell you why.
This is crazy
I'll
to
tell
me.
you why.
Same questions.
Because I know the programming. We've all been programmed to ask the same questions. You're going to say, you might come up with, what about sticks and shadows with Aristophanes, the Greeks? They figured it out 2,000 years ago. You might come up with, how does the sun set over the water, right? You might come up with, what about
the moon landing and all of that? Yeah, it's all fake.
Well, the moon landing, I do believe, is a bunch of crap because the fact that we can't. Well, the other day, I thought we've been going to the moon like nonstop. My blonde self, I was like, what have we been doing the whole time? Like, what is the point of like astronauts and stuff? But then my brother sent me a clip where they were saying that they destroyed the technology to go back, and it's like, well, we're in 2020,
and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Yeah.
That's where Dom Pettit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
complete
what?
and total nonsense.
It does seem unbelievable.
If we've been traveling in space for years, we would have a photograph. We have a photograph of Earth. We have no photographs of Earth. NASA admits that they're fake.
They're all composites.
What?
They're all composites. So this one is the blue marble that was on. I'm going to sneeze. The blue marble that was on everyone's iPhone, and the visual artist that made it in NASA, his name was Robert Simmons. And in an interview, he said he got strips of data and he painted it in Photoshop. He said he painted it in Photoshop, so much so that if you look at it, you can see that he did paint it in Photoshop, and he's horrible at it because he stepped and repeated the same clouds again and again. We find this all the time with NASA. The other problem is a few years later, they come out with this photo. Look at the size of the United States here and look at the size here.
Well, they do say that the countries on a map are not the right size. Like,
well, that's correct. And yeah, we'll show you how that is completely destroys what they're showing us. But if you look at this picture, as I'm trying to find the image I want, if you look here, this is Mexico and Baja. We could take a measurement of that and then we know how big Baja and Mexico are, and we could actually verify that on a map. And if I could find that image, it would be a lot easier than trying to explain it. The distance between, where the heck did it go? You were just complimenting me.
I know. Sorry. I shouldn't have said it till the end.
Me.
I know. I was even thinking, should I say?
So if we measure from Baja across Mexico, it's like 780 miles. And if the diameter of the Earth is 7,900, like they tell us, I should be able to fit 8.5 of this big in between here, right? But you can't. You can only fit like 3. So again, I'm still struggling to find that picture because it's very easy. All right, go ahead. Ask the question.
Are there so the whole like other planets, is that not real either? Like the Pluto and Jupiter. I don't even think there's Pluto anymore or whatever. But is that not real? Like that's kind of
here we go.
Fictional.
Found it.
Oh, there you go.
So real
Go
quick.
back.
I should fit 8.5 of these in between this diameter of the Earth. Then, of course, you can't even fit them on this page, right? That's something that we can test, showing, again, that this is a painting. NASA admits they don't have any photos of Earth. So when you talk about other planets, if you look at what NASA shows us for planets and what we see, because our optics have outgrown their lies, we see something completely different. This is what Mars really looks like when you zoom in with a powerful telescope or a super zoom camera. It looks like a pulsing orb of energy. It's nothing like what NASA shows us. If you look at the star Arcturus, this is what is one of the brightest stars in the sky. This is what it really looks like. NASA shows us this, the CGI garbage, right? And this is stuff you can do yourself. Here's the star Capella, amazing star, right? These are all here, small and within the Earth system.
Wow.
So,
and here's a whole bunch of stars. They kind of look like they're underwater, if you ask me.
So NASA is, as a whole, a lie. That's what we're saying.
I think they do spread things that aren't necessarily 100%.
David, who started NASA? Tell him.
Yeah, so I'm jumping all over the place. There's so many things I want to show you guys.
That's why we're doing 2 hours.
So NASA is, when people say NASA lies about most things, they're wrong.
Ooh,
they lie about everything, okay? Everything. No one has ever been to the moon. This is the only proof that we have landed on the moon, right? That people give themselves high fives, right? If you look at, look at the Apollo astronauts when they came back from the moon at their press conference. First, you have to believe that there's 2 guys in this friggin' model. These guys could barely look up at the audience. They were so depressed. They were being forced to lie. And if you go back and just watch the Apollo moon landing conference, just watch these things. Even if you're not a good judge of somebody, you can tell that they're being forced to lie. They got their story mixed up. We saw stars, we didn't see stars, all of this nonsense. Then if you look at any of the actual footage from the moon, right? If you look at the footage of the moon landing, it's insane. Okay. Here's a guy trying to pound in the post. I guess that's for the flag. And he drops his hammer and he can't pick it up because he's hanging from a balloon, right? There's a balloon taking the weight of him and he can't get the balloon to let him down enough to grab the hammer, right?
What?
He's hanging from wires.
And wouldn't that hammer be floating anyways? I mean,
yeah. Wait, and people say because he threw it down, but sure. And also, no, it wouldn't be. There's 1/6 the gravity. We have other instances where there should be 0 gravity on the space station, and that doesn't. It doesn't hold up. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to test you guys. Is this real footage, or is this a model? This right here, real footage or model?
Space station?
That looks like a model.
No, that is supposedly the lunar lander coming back to the orbiter with 2 men in it.
Real footage.
Well, it is real footage, but it's really fake. There's nobody in there. It's crazy to think that they're in there. On the space station, if I show you NASA faking anti-gravity or no gravity on a space station just once, that should be enough to unwind it to they're lying about everything. Here is, that's the wrong one. Here is, they got some fresh fruit up on the space station. They got a lemon. It's not real. Look, it's CGI. It's called augmented reality. And look at it. They're manipulating fake things. You see it?
Wow.
Right?
So what about the Challenger when it exploded?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll stick with the space station and then we'll get to the Challenger.
All right.
So they do different things. So this is a ball filled with some helium, so it's kind of neutrally buoyant and she can play with it. This is not real. This is a CGI object. Watch, I'll show you again. Nothing. Boom. There it is. They even beamed it in with a little beaming noise and beaming graphic. It's called leap motion augmented reality, where they're manipulating things that aren't really there. And they have either contact lenses on that are showing them a picture in their eye, or they're looking at a screen beyond the camera and it's showing them where things are, and they're moving them around. Sometimes when they're hanging from wires, glitches happen and everything that's floating glitched out. Right? And then they quickly cut away and they go back to mission control, but it shows you that they're on different layers. Here's the guys. They're flipping their mic around, flipping their hat around. This guy goes floating by in the background. Can you see the harness? Okay. hanging from wires.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And is it because people don't really want to like if they start to question, it makes you like uncomfortable? It's like what you've known forever. Is it just to distract everybody from the truth? I mean, I don't feel like
it's to make you believe that you live on a spinning ball. Here's
why to go to so much trouble?
Yes.
Because this is the thing that they need to control us. If everybody woke up to flat earth, their reign is done. Everyone will figure out our real history, who we are, where we are, what we are, and they will lose complete control. This is all about
other countries
control.
Are doing the same lie then.
They're all in it together. The division of countries is fake. Okay. There was a one world empire here in the 1800s, advanced technology, super advanced, way beyond what we have. Okay. And this was all taken away from us. And they put us in this prison. Look at this. The color gets separated because the coffee that was in this plastic cup is on a different layer. So he's pretending to drink coffee. And when he's floating it around, he's on a zero-G plane. They were putting it in with CGI, and you watch and it separates. Bam, it loses sync. Oh. That couldn't happen if that was real. You see it?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? And then here, these guys are in two different rooms. They're in a green screen behind them. And Chris, is that Chris Hatfield? Yeah, Chris Hatfield is singing, and this other guy is holding the microphone and misplaces where Chris is and sticks it right into his neck.
What?
It's inside of his neck. Because they're not there. It's all layers on top of layers.
Wow. So when did this all start? You said the 1800s when
when did the takeover happen? The takeover happened actually it was ongoing, but in the 1920s everybody worldwide knew the earth was flat.
Yeah,
I was interviewing this woman Ruth in February 2020 about the World's Fairs, which is a whole nother thing. And she had such a great memory. I asked her, what did they teach her in elementary school about the earth? And she said, they taught me the earth was flat. And then they changed it. This was in Connecticut public schools, not a religious school, nothing like that. Connecticut public schools. We found newspaper articles in the early 1900s of teachers being persecuted for trying to teach heliocentrism. Okay. Heliocentrism, the ball model, and that were threatened to put in jail for teaching such heresy. And we found people in other countries in the 1930s that all knew the earth was flat. And then they started all these bankers' wars, depression, and everything. We don't have much time to find old people like this. You need people that are over 100 that still have their wits about them. And as soon as this video went out, it went viral. And I was telling everybody on all the radio shows I was doing, you got to go into old age homes that you have access to and find centenarians, people over 100, and interview them. And boom, the next day, COVID lockdown, and all the nursing homes have been locked down ever since.
Well, my brother was pulling up you guys on YouTube.
I've watched you before. I didn't know who you were though. I've seen that exact
That's
thing.
crazy.
Yeah, that video went a little viral.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, and then the people that started NASA. So NASA was started in 1958, and they brought over through Project Paperclip, which is, I believe this is all just a story. A guy by the name, a Nazi rocket scientist by the name of Werner von Braun. Okay. Well, the whole space race was fake, so that entire story is fake. But Werner von Braun ran NASA, and when he died, this is what was on his gravestone. Psalms 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Well, the firmament's the dome. Why is a NASA scientist and the guy that founded NASA talking about the dome, right? And then to make it worse, he wrote a book in 1957 called Project Mars. Project Mars. And the book was about a group of people that went to Mars and started a colony there. And the leader of that colony, you want to guess what his name was?
Hitler.
Very close. No, the leader of that colony, his name was Elon. Okay.
Ooh.
Elon. So here it is. Here's the cover of the book. It's still available on Amazon by the fact, but Amazon just recently changed the cover. It's harder to find the old one. Well, this is the rocket that Elon Musk wants to go to Mars in.
Oh my gosh, I was
Do you
just
see
gonna
anything
ask you
similar?
about him.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Do you see anything similar? A month ago, Elon tweeted, I want to redesign the Mars rocket and make it pointier.
Dang, that's crazy.
I don't know. What does Elon
They're mocking
Musk
us.
say?
Here's the emblem for U.S. Space Force. I call it Space Farce. And here's the emblem for Starfleet Command. Do you see any mockery in this?
Wow.
Yep.
Well, art imitates life.
Hey, David,
Yeah, there you go.
by you doing all this, do you have people like trying to shut you down, take you off the internet?
I mean, they try to hide us and censor us. No one's come after me yet. I don't believe it works that way. They're not allowed to break our free will. They only can get us to agree to their tyranny. Like you, nobody has to do anything they say. They're just going to try to coerce you into doing it, but they can't force you into doing anything. Okay. So that's that. And that's the other thing. They don't want you to know that. They want you to think, if you knew that authority really had no authority over you, you would not comply. But that's how they have you. They have you believing nonsense. They have all sorts of fake stories throughout history of people that went to jail for this. Al Capone went to jail because he didn't pay his taxes. Nonsense. CIA agents. This is all to control your mind. Okay. It's all ridiculousness.
Do you want to talk about the
guys.
Challenger real fast before?
The Challenger.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's the guys that just got back from the moon. Super happy guys. Really, we just went to the moon, made it back on an untested rocket. We did things that no one's ever done. And here we are. And we could barely look up at the audience.
Wow.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, that is crazy.
So this is the part that people have they short circuit a lot on. Nobody's ever been into space. Nobody's ever been on a rocket except the stuntman taking little, jumping, I don't know how far, but nobody ever goes up on these rockets. This is supposedly 4 million pounds. There's a little breeze and it's bouncing around in the wind like a bouncy house filled with air. Well, this is the external tank and it is a helium balloon, like a Macy's Day Parade balloon. Okay. This thing is mostly helium. It's got a little bit of weight on the bottom and a rock and a little bit of boosters coming out of these things. But it does not go anywhere. It goes up, it curves out, it goes over the ocean, it rolls on its back because the helium blimp is lighter, right? That's why it rolls on its back, and it goes out over the Bermuda Triangle and then disappears when nobody sees it, when it's out of range. If you look at an actual launch, and I'm going to get into the Challenger. If you look at an actual launch, they edit it. Look at this. This is it. Look at this fence right here. This thing is about to shoot out 25,000 mile an hour superheated winds. And that fence, nothing happens to that fence. These people are nowhere near this thing. They are over 10 miles away, minimum. Okay. 10 miles away. The thing's going to be this friggin' big. Okay. These people are not right there. This is all editing. Okay. This is a helium blimp that they're about to launch. A tornado would tie this fence in a knot, and a tornado is 300 mile an hour winds with not superheated. This thing is about to blow out. It's lifting 4 million pounds. Okay. Superheated fuel. This is all nonsense. This is smoke coming out of the ground. This thing is going up, floating super slow. I doubt at its top speed, it's going 100 miles an hour. Okay. And then when this thing goes downrange, it has a little explosions that blow off the external rockets. Okay. And if you remember as a kid, thunder and lightning, you see the lightning and then you count the number of seconds, and that tells you the number of miles that it is away before you hear the thunder. Well, this thing's going up, it's going out, and then they're going to zoom in on it, and you're going to watch the separation of the external tanks. Okay. And if you're watching it with sound, you can just Google this. This video will come up. You say space shuttle launch. This one will come up, and you'll hear it at the same time that you see it. Okay. So it's about to go. And when you watch it, you hear, and it separates. Ready? It's going to separate in about 2 seconds. 1, 2. And there it goes. And you hear it at the same time. Well, this thing was over 30 miles away. If it was 20 miles away, giving them every benefit of the doubt, you wouldn't hear it for 90 seconds. It would take 90 seconds for that sound to get to you. So this is a Hollywood production. This is not real. This is probably CGI at this point. Okay. I don't even think this is still floating up there, although it very well might be. It could just be floating up there. And then as soon as it's out of range, they'll just take it down. This is a light show. These are LED lights, probably. They're not doing anything. So what happened to the shuttle, to the astronauts? Wait, one other quick thing. This is the SR-71. It goes Mach 3.2. Any faster, it starts ripping apart, even though it's literally designed like a friggin' razor blade. It has like zero resistance, right? They're always black because the paint burns off of them because they heat up to over like 500 degrees just from the air friction on this super slick aerodynamic marvel 3.2. This thing supposedly goes like Mach 25, okay? Mach 33. There you go, Mach 33. And this thing is not aerodynamic. If you take a close look, there's like PVC piping. It's insanity, right? That anyone
it's the same design from like, the 80s.
Yeah, a 747 is more aerodynamic than this hunk of garbage. Okay, right. And then the other thing is that tank. Like they'll have a parade where the tank goes through a couple of towns, they're bringing it to the space shuttle and it is a big metal tank. That's to make everyone think, oh yeah, I saw it. It's a big metal tank, right? But that's not what they're launching. They're launching a helium balloon. NASA owns all of the largest helium companies in the world and is the largest consumer of helium in the world. Did you know that?
No. What?
Yeah.
I know where the helium comes from.
Yeah, Miss Polly's there. Yeah. She lives there.
So this is how they launch satellites. They're all on balloons. Satellites are on balloons. They're not falling around a spinning Earth. So NASA, they don't tell us about this. Where is I'm looking for? I'm having a hard time finding my stuff today because a couple things moved. But getting back to the external tank, or one more second. Oh yeah. So here's another balloon launch. And I want to get back to the external tank. So that external tank is a steel tank, empty. It weighs it's like 20 tons, 40,000 pounds. And it supposedly falls back to Earth so fast that it atomizes, that it literally burns up and never hits the ground. Okay. But if I could find my video, you're going to really like this. It is.
So these are all satellites being launched by balloons.
It's all balloons. It's all done with helium.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah. I have a series of videos called Rockets Are Balloons. Okay. And then once you see them, you can't unsee it. You're like, oh my God, the deception is unbelievable. Sometimes they launch a CGI rocket. And when they launch the CGI rocket, sometimes things go wrong. This is like Tupac when he was projected on the stage. Everyone's like, whoa, it looks so real, right? This is a hologram. And as you'll see in a minute, sometimes, we found these projectors we're looking at pictures of NASA, these big light. We're like, what are these weird spotlights? And we saw the nameplate or the serial number and we looked it up and it was from a holographic projection company. Yep. Holographic projection company.
Wow.
Why does NASA have holographic projectors on their lawn? And look what happens. Sometimes something goes very wrong.
Oh.
And the top of the rocket disappeared.
Oh.
Yeah. So there you go. So here's what I wanted to show you. Now watch. This is supposedly filmed by the orbiter, which is going into outer space. So it's going over 17,000 miles an hour already. This thing's falling back to the Earth. Well, for them to keep up with this thing has to be going sideways at 17,000 miles an hour. That's ridiculous. It's impossible. Watch right here. A piece of paper is going to float by like a handkerchief or something. Ready? There it goes. Oh. So you can kind of see how fast this thing's going, which is not very fast at all. It's just floating in the air. So anybody with a rational mind can see that this is a balloon, not a piece of metal falling from the sky that's going to burn up. Okay. And I'm not even sure if this thing we're looking down at this thing or if we're looking up at it. It's very hard to tell because, your mind has no reference for it. So here's something that we'd say this is from the space station. This is kind of like the space station would show us. You think you can even see the curve and, this has got to be the space station. But in reality, we did this with zero budget. Okay.
Oh, you did that.
We did it from zero budget, and we just filmed it from our front yard and turned it upside down. Okay. So that's how easy it is to fool people like that. And that's us with zero budget. Zero budget.
So if people die or something like that with NASA,
that's bad confessions.
What?
They what?
What were you going to say? If someone dies, do you think they blow the whistle?
Well, I'm just why would they say people died going up into outer space or like?
Oh,
how did you know? I was just going to ask you about my Red Bull Austrian friend. Something out of nothing.
Well, I'll show you that. I'll show you that in a second. So getting back, because I am all over the place today. What about the shuttle? The Challenger astronauts. So this was to traumatize children and also to kick the can down the road a little farther because, we keep saying civilians in space, hotels in space, going to Mars.
Hotels.
None of that's real. So they have to kick the can down. They needed to traumatize children. So they had every kid in school. They brought a television into the classroom that day. First time ever.
Yep.
And then they,
and it was a teacher too.
They basically, and there was a teacher on there. So that's how they traumatized everybody. But let me ask you a question. You have any brothers and sisters? You guys have brothers and sisters. They're close to you. If you had a twin, you even have a closer connection to your twin. Would you all agree with that?
Yes. I've heard
so
that.
If you look at the Challenger astronauts, 6 of them had identical twins. All 6 of those twins work at, I think all of them except maybe this guy, work at universities as professors. They have the same name, same birthday, and they say they're the identical twin of their dead brother or sister.
What?
Wow.
Okay. And none of them showed up at their brother or sister's funeral.
What?
Stop.
This guy right here, Dick Scobie, he had this company called like Cows and Trees or something. I forget what the company did, but when you went to his website, it basically had a cow that takes off like a rocket with smoke coming out of his rear end. And he does this crazy loop, just like the Challenger loop that we saw. Okay. And we noticed that, we brought it up, bam, website disappears. Okay. No one was able to capture it, but they're sticking it in our faces.
Oh, wow.
In our faces.
Wow.
Guys, are you guys familiar with the Georgia Guidestones?
Yes.
No. Everyone my brother is, yes.
All right. So the Georgia Guidestones are like a Stonehenge type monument that was built in 1981. Besides the fact that they have the New World Order marching orders on them, they have a very interesting little hole in the center stone, a long, thin hole, like 1/4 of an inch. And if you look through that stone, what do you see? What you see is the star Polaris, our North Star. And if you do a time lapse, all the stars spin around it. How the heck can we be corkscrewing through space in 4 different directions at once, traveling trillions of miles over the decades, and that Polaris has never moved from that hole? Right?
I mean, it definitely makes you think.
There's a lot of unanswered questions,
but
for
I think
sure.
that the biggest problem is that no one asks any questions. Everyone just takes what you're told as fact.
Well, you only know what you've been taught.
Yeah,
so,
right.
You think that's the truth. You think,
and like Cruz said kind of earlier, there's a stigma to people who will say like the earth is flat. People make fun of it. And then you're kind of like, well, I don't really know. And then you have someone like David or my brother, and it's kind of like, well, now I'm kind of curious. And then I wonder, but then if you ask, people are like, oh, okay, you're one of those people. So I feel like,
let's look at this. If you wanted to go from Santiago to Australia, this would be the quickest route. Maybe just go around because we don't want to disturb the penguins. All right. So that would be the shortest route. But this is the actual route. Santiago, all the way up to the East Coast, the West Coast, and then all the way back down. And if you want to go, check this out, to Western Australia, instead of taking a little scoot under here, you go all the way up here, all the way over to Europe and Dubai and down.
And why is that?
Because the earth is flat. South America, you go all the way up across America, Europe, Dubai, and Western Australia. It's a straight line on a flat earth map. All plane routes, that make no sense on a globe.
That is so true.
Make perfect sense on a flat Earth.
Oh, I see what you're saying now.
So you ever ask any pilots what they think?
Yes, we've talked to many pilots, and they say that they know the Earth is flat and stationary. They talk about how their gyros maintain level, that they see things, that are literally impossible on a globe, on a spinning globe. And we actually interviewed a KLM pilot who was telling us all the stuff, showing us all sorts of stuff. Next day, she was grounded and fired. Okay. Yep. And so this is a long distance flight, and the sun right here should dip below the horizon, but it never does because it's just moving around the flat Earth. Let me show you guys my app and show you how seasons work, because that's the one that usually gets everybody. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So again, if we were in a crazy heliocentric spinning Earth, nothing would ever repeat. The stars won't repeat. Like if you go out tonight and look at the stars, mark where they are in the sky, next year, same night, same time, every star will be in the same exact position, even though we've corkscrewed through space for billions of miles. Nonsense. Okay. So the sky is a perfect clock. The sun keeps track of the hours and the days. The sun is the hour hand, but right now it's not on the hour hand because here in America, we have fake daylight savings time, and they want us to think it's an hour later than it is. That actually affects us, the way we're connected to the Earth and to the sun. So I say that's literally to throw us off kilter. So the sun goes around, it laps the moon once every 28 days. So you'll see that it's catching up to the moon, and the moon is getting smaller and smaller. So the moon's phases and position keep track of the weeks and the months, right? And as it catches up to the moon, it'll be a new moon and you won't be able to see it. And then when it's opposed to the sun, we have a full moon. So that's how, so the moon keeps track of the weeks and the months. There used to be 13 moons of 28 days, okay, which is 364 days. And then there was like one extra day squeezed in there. If I turn on the stars circle around the same way. All the zodiac stars, they circle around, but they're going just slightly faster than the sun. So right now the sun is in this constellation. Next month, Cancer will catch up to it, and it'll process through Cancer for a month, and then it'll go into the next one, and it'll take a year for the stars to lap the sun. So let me show you how that works. So the sun goes around, and right now we're having summer in the north, right? It just went over Miami, super hot in Miami, Southern California, Mexico, hot. Australia is having their winter right now. And that's because the sun is far away from them. It never gets that close. But if I jump the sun 6 months forward to December, it's now summer in Australia because the sun is high over their head. And for us, the sun is farther away, so it's lower in the sky. And we're having our winter. Right. So the example I use is, imagine two of you are sitting outside, freezing cold. It's snow on the ground, whatever. And you're 15 feet apart. And then I stand over one of you, and then 10 feet over your head, I have a super heat lamp. And you're like, and you feel that heat, and it's warm, and you're good. You take off your coat. Well, that's your summer sun. It's high in the sky. The other person 15 feet away, that sun's not over them. It's way over, lower in the sky. They can barely feel the heat because it's farther away. That's their winter sun. And if I move that sun over to them, now it's their summer and the other person's winter. It's higher in the sky for them. And the person that's looking over, it's now lower in the sky for them. That's exactly how summers work. That's how seasons work. It makes no sense on a tilted, wobbling ball Earth. Make sense?
What about the
Complete
places that
sense.
stay warm all the time?
Well, that's very good. So the places that stay warm are in the tropics. Well, where are the tropics? The tropics are in between the two tropics, the Tropic of Capricorn. Look, right now, if I turn on the tropics, you'll see that the sun is, if I jump forward one more month, the sun is in the Tropic of Cancer. That's why they call it the Tropic of Cancer. And then over here is Capricorn. If I jump the sun 6 months farther, it goes into the Tropic of Capricorn, which is now right over here. So that's why and so the sun migrates in between these tropics. So everything in between here is never too far from the sun, Look, Mexico, you got the Caribbean here.
Which is by the equator.
Yeah. And anything that, the sun never gets farther than this distance from anything. So Florida all the way here, even during the winter, it gets a little cold in Florida, but the sun's still close enough. But places, way up north, like Alaska, when the sun is all the way out here, the sun can't even reach it, and then the sun never even rises. Right. So if I jump forward again, back to our summer here in the north, if where am I? November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So in July, whoops, I went a little too far. Whatever. So the sun is here and it's arcing around us, right? If I'm here in the Arctic and I look at the sun, what's it doing? It's arcing around me. Okay. You agree with everyone with that?
Yeah.
But if I'm out here in the Antarctic, is the sun arcing around me? Or is it antarcing away from me? Antarctic, Arctic.
So is that why where is it last the 30 days of night and day?
Yeah. So right here, when the sun is all the way in here, the sun's never too far from Alaska to set. Like at midnight, it would be all the way over here. The sun is still close enough not to set. But when the sun is out over the Tropic of Capricorn, October, November, December, when the sun's all the way out here, Alaska, the sun never rises because it's too far away. It's going all the way around, and it never gets close enough to Alaska, to Norway, right? Because it's too far away. But when it comes all the way back in, it actually stays close enough where it never gets far enough away to set for anything here in the further inner north.
So
real quick, and let me get out of the app. The app has a compass. The most important thing on the app is Flat Earth is highly censored. If you Google Flat Earth, you're not going to find anything. But every day there's a new featured video, and I say, here's the challenge. I say, watch the featured video every day for 2 weeks. And if you still think you have a globe proof, I'll give you 2 Bitcoins if you have one. But before you do, you have to click the question mark, and up come questions like, what about eclipses? What about Coriolis effect? What about gravity? What about seasons?
Oh my goodness.
And if you hit one of them, like what about eclipses, up comes a playlist that YouTube and Google do not want you to see. These are videos that won't show up when you circle, when you look for eclipses. And then this will explain how it all works.
Wow.
Tons of other stuff in there. Flat Earth books, right? 16 Emergency Landings. Amazing book. If you want to get that. The Iron Republic, which is about the lands beyond Antarctica. Great stuff. All right. And that's it. That's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app.
Questions. Oh my God.
It's the best.
Wow.
So many questions. I also want to know, so do you believe that at one point all the different countries and continents and such were one?
Nope.
That they haven't broken apart like they suggest?
Nope.
Because they say that.
Yeah.
They say that we're on a spinning ball flying through an infinite space vacuum and that we're in the Goldilocks zone. And they say a lot of silly stuff. But if the continents were shifting around and the Earth was spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, like they tell you, everything would go to the equator. All of the water, all of the land, all of the continents, everything would go to the equator. Okay. All of the ancient pyramids, everything still line up with the exact stars that they're pointing at.
Wow.
We're not drifting a fraction of an inch.
Go ahead, Mom. Well, I happened to see somebody that I knew a long time ago, and he is very much into the flat earth also. And they did a test about the water, like that it wouldn't stay. Like it makes no sense that if it's round, the water would stay.
Right. Like it's in the ball.
Well, how does gravity hold on, water to a spinning ball? How do cruise ships and tankers go upside down? Like this is going on in Australia right now. Okay. But a butterfly can fly and I could jump. Like, how could I even lift my arms? Right. If gravity is able to hold on to the water. And think about this. They tell us the gravity of the moon pulls the water to create the tides. Well, what's to stop it from, if it can pull the water, why doesn't it just pull it right off the earth? All right. I mean, if it can move the water, why doesn't it pull it off the earth?
I never thought about the water.
Right. It's the dumbest thing ever. Let me explain what the 3-body problem is. You can go in the world's best supercomputer, you can model and say, all right, I've got a sun, it's got this much gravity, and I got this little planet, and it's got this much gravity, and you can put them into orbit, and the computer will predict where that ball is going to be every second of every day for millennia. Okay. Then you add one more object, either a moon rotating the second ball, or another Earth, another planet rotating about the sun, and the model goes into complete chaos mode, never repeats, becomes completely unpredictable. No computer can figure it out. But we have billions of objects in our galaxy alone. And, it's like 60 different objects in our solar system, and everything just keeps repeating again and again and again. And they can predict eclipses and all sorts of stuff. It's insanity, right? Do you know that eclipses repeat every 18 years? Right? The idea that a sun is 400 times bigger and 400 times farther than the moon, and they line up perfectly once, would be like winning the lottery. Like, it's beyond winning any lottery. Okay. And then it repeats again and again and again every 18 years. All of the eclipses repeat. It's the same eclipses happen again and again. That shows you that the sky is a perfect timepiece. This was called the Antikythera mechanism. It was found off of Greece, off the island of Antikythera. And it had these complicated wheels in it. They did an MRI of it. They dissected all the pieces. They put it together. And it's a mechanical device that shows you when all the eclipses happen, where the sun and the moon are, all the phases of the moon, and the position of some of the planets. And it works perfectly. That's not a random beehive, heliocentric, Big Bang nonsense.
Wow. The daylight savings time thing, why you feel like they wants to like throw us off, but one state doesn't change their time. Arizona, right?
Yeah, well, I guess, but
I think there's a couple of others. Maybe. I mean, think about anyway.
Daylight savings time is the dumbest thing ever, because that's like saying, you know what? I have a quilt and I'm cold, so I'm going to cut off a foot on the top and sew it to the bottom.
Government.
Yeah, I'm going to sew the foot off the top on the bottom, and that's the silliest thing ever. David,
I have so many other questions. I know flat Earth is what we're talking about, but I feel like it all kind of goes together. And I wanted to know your view on the whole COVID thing. And I am originally from Austria. And the thing that I have witnessed through this whole thing is that I have watched a different country handle this whole COVID situation. And I have told my children, and I've actually translated it, it's almost like they are all having the same script. Like my country in Austria, they're saying the same things.
They all have the same script.
Yeah.
Is that a fact?
Is this going on? Is this going on YouTube?
Yes.
All right. So we're not going to say too much because they will take it down and you'll get a strike.
Okay.
So
don't talk about that.
This says it all. Okay. Complete and total nonsense. All right.
Got it.
And yeah, they all do have a script. They're all saying build back better. It's all nonsense. If you want to know the truth about all of this stuff, it used to be on YouTube, but now you can't find it there. There's a website called stoplookthink.com. And you have some featured videos on the main page there. And then there's videos on the CV thing and the 911 thing and all of the other things. And it's all broken down for you, for anyone that has the time to look and the eyes to see and the brain to process the information.
Okay, so then let's go back to my Austrian friend that jumped out, the Red Bull that jumped out of space, where I literally couldn't breathe because it was happening. Was that all fake?
You were friends with Felix?
I'm not really friends with him, but I'm from the same country.
Okay, I'll take it. So people like to be connected to big events. It's part of the way that some of these deceptions work. But Felix Baumgarten, there's two ways to look at it. One, he was a shill meant to make people think the Earth is a globe, or he didn't know what he was doing, because when he came down, he was interviewed and goes, I saw the curvature of the Earth, blah, 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 blah. Well, he could have been told to say that, or He thought he saw the curve of the earth because he's wearing a curved glass over his head. He saw the curve of the earth when he was standing on the ground also, which he didn't realize. Okay. But there was two test flights before the televised one. And they all used regular lenses, and all of the horizons were flat and level at eye level.
But where did he go? I mean, they said he went to space. So.
He went to the edge of space, 127,000 feet. Okay. And he did not see the curve. This is a fisheye lens. We looked and we said, okay, look at this river, look at these land features, look at all this stuff. This is all New Mexico. This isn't even the United States. This is just New Mexico, and it's bent in a fisheye lens. Right? GoPro lenses bend. They changed it all to GoPro for the one that they had filmed, and GoPro lenses change it. When the camera moves, it flexes. It gets flat, and then it turns convex, and then it turns concave, right? Or concave, convex. When you're up that high, 120,000 feet, flat, not a fisheye lens, right? So was he lying or was he fooled? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The earth is flat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Hey, one other thing. Just this, for smoke, you need that. For paint, you need that. For mining, you need that. For pesticides, you need that. For radioactivity, you need that. The deadliest virus in history. All you need is a little face diaper.
I was going to ask you about that too, but I don't want to ask questions that will get us taken down. What about cryptocurrency? What do you think of that?
Yeah, so cryptocurrency, there's two ways to look at it. One, the government created it, which I don't believe is the case. But because it's open source, innovations happened and they've lost control over it. Or two, it was done to help take down the bankers, and the government got their fingers in it. I kind of think that's what's happened. Yeah. Like right now, Bitcoin is going to go through the roof still.
I hope
but
so.
Bitcoin isn't what they think it is, because the government has, they've changed it into all the exchanges are KYC, which is know your customer. So basically, it's just like banking again. They know they can track the Bitcoins. They can know what you're doing with it. They can even mark certain Bitcoins as, this was used for something bad, therefore it's worthless, right? They've got their fingers into it. There's other thing called privacy coins like Monero or Pirate Chain, which is the new one. Monero is what Bitcoin should have been, but Pirate Chain is what Monero should have been. Right. And Pirate Chain is a fairly new crypto. And basically, when you use Pirate Chain or Monero, nobody can see what you're doing with it. Right. And that's the way it should be. And these are the ones that are going to take over. Now, here's the thing. Cryptocurrency is going to take over the world and unseat the bankers. Okay. And the bankers are the ones that are running the world. Or we're going to go into a time where money, crypto, gold bars, silver don't matter. The only thing that'll matter is food, guns, and bullets. Okay.
Oh God. So explain that. I want to know more about that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. All of this is in our hands. They're trying to create this future, but they can't do it without our permission. They need our minds to manifest their world. When you're ever in that flow state and everything's working perfectly and you think about something and bam, it manifests in your life. That's how life is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. They have us living in a way where we think that we're running out of food, we're running out of fuel, we're running, global warming. All of that is just to take down your power, right? Spinning out of control, lost in space. Well, how are you going to make a proper decision if that's what you think? This is why I left my company to spread this message, because all the flat earthers, and there's millions and millions and millions of us, and more are waking up every day. They've all disconnected from this matrix, right? This is the mind matrix. They're controlling our minds with lies. But once you wake up from it, you just I have no more fear to feed you, because they feed off of our fear. This is a spiritual war. Mm-hmm. And once you wake up to this, you unplug.
And you can't unsee. I do agree with that. Once you see, you can't unsee, and then you start questioning everything, literally.
Right. And, I used to wake people up to the event that happened in New York, the event that happened in Connecticut at the school, the event that happened at the marathon in Boston, right? Because all of those are provably 100% complete and total, utter heliocentric, I'll call it, which means nonsense. But the problem is people wake up to that and they go right back to their stupid lives, right? And they would just kind of forget about it. When you wake up to the flat earth, you can never unsee it. And then things change for you in great ways, right? My life is, I had my own company. I was my own boss, right? Boss was a dick, but it was me. Okay? So I walked away from it all, and now I'm doing what I love, and it's working. It's great, and I'm helping people wake up, and this is really a good thing. And if people woke up, literally, we can take our world back tomorrow if everyone just friggin' woke up and realized what's nonsense and what's real sense. Right? They've convinced us to trade in our common sense for a guy in a bow tie wearing a lab coat, or a butcher coat. Mm-hmm. Okay. All they have to do is come out and say a new survey, scientists have a new survey that shows, and whatever they say after that, people just believe it.
I believe that 100%.
It's all
for sure.
complete and total nonsense. Have you guys taken the magnet challenge yet?
The what? No.
And any of you get the thing in your arm?
No.
Heck no.
Yep.
You did?
I did.
How long ago?
And let's see. I got it in January, and I did try the magnet, and it didn't work.
All right, good. Listen, I've seen some incredible things. Which one did you get? Which
Moderna.
Moderna. Yeah, I've only heard it on Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, but again, lot.
I did it to my mom, and she got Pfizer. Didn't stick either.
All right, very good. Good to know.
They call
I need to do it myself before I see it. So
have you seen
before I do it?
They call it the Fauci ouchie. So you don't get in trouble.
I mean, if you guys look into, go to stoplookthink.com, watch the videos just on the homepage there, or click the Corona page and just start watching, and then you'll learn so much.
Well, it's so interesting. So you, all the beliefs you have with everything that the threats basically that they are saying are coming, with Bill Gates buying up all the farmland, et cetera, and our water and food supply supposedly being in danger and stuff like that. How do you feel about that? And what are you doing to prepare yourself?
Well, I'm helping people wake up and see, and I'm prepared. I'm widespread. I've diversified my assets. I have a lot of crypto. I have food. I have weapons. I have plans. But I'm hoping I don't need any of it. I'm hoping that if people wake up, they're going to just keep pushing their plan back until they can't roll their plan out until we all say yes, roll it out. Like they wanted to invade all of those countries in the Middle East. They had all the keys to the rockets and the bullets and everything, but they had to wait until we pounded the war drum. So they did that 9/11 thing. And everyone pounded the war drum, including me. I'm like, let's go get those effers, right? Because we were all under a spell, and they can't do it until we give them permission. Okay.
Oh,
and that's what people don't understand.
That is very interesting.
Wow.
They can't do anything unless we give them permission.
Right.
I do believe we're in a spiritual warfare, and half of us don't know, we're in it.
I agree with that.
I'd say more than half. If it was half, we'd be doing much better. It is a spiritual war. And if you understand what this place is, then you'll really start to get it. And again, you just have to look into Tartaria and our history, what they've taken from us. It is criminal is not even the word. It's beyond belief. There's a video I have on my channel on the Flat Earth app. If you go into the archive and look under this month, May of 2021, it's called The History of Flat Earth, The Hidden History of Flat Earth, parts 1 through 7. Watch that.
My brother's looking it up like right now, actually.
You'll find it. It's on my YouTube channel, which is the Flat Earth Podcast YouTube channel, the Flat Earth Podcast YouTube channel. It's the newest video. I just made it public this morning, but it's on if you forget that, just go into the app and hit the archive button next to the featured video, and it's right there. It's a 5-hour video. I'm on my third watching.
Oh, okay. Wow.
What do you think?
It's mind blowing.
What do you think of the health industry in this country?
Oh, it's a business. I would never go to a doctor except for collision. I just want collision insurance. Like if I break a bone, orthopedic doctors are gods. Okay. If I have any disease, which is just toxicity, they've named all the different types of toxicity. They've given them all different disease. I will handle it myself.
Yes, I agree so much.
Same.
Yeah, there is no disease. There's just levels of toxicity.
Toxicity. Wow.
I like that.
Yeah.
The way you say that, actually.
Yeah, because they give you more and more medicine, which
they keep you sick.
Well,
That's
their
how
job
they
is
make
to
money.
keep you sick.
There used to be, correct. There used to
That's
be
why-
all sorts of real medicines, which they call snake oil and stuff. But then they took it over, with I think it was called the Fleckner Report by the Rockefellers. And they've just changed everything to oil-based, petroleum-based medicines. There's like a plant that has like cures whatever. There's plants that do amazing things. Well, they're like, oh, let's create that synthetically from petroleum oil. Oh, we have the same molecular setup, and then we'll make a pill out of it. Rather than use the plant.
It's countries that have universal health care that have cures, and they don't have these issues because they don't mess with their food supply. America messes with our food supply.
Yep.
What do you do about that?
Oh my God, sick.
Yeah,
because it keeps the engine running because we have to pay for it.
David, what about that? Our food supply. I mean, it is totally different from.
It's totally horrifying, horrible, and.
What do you do?
Thank you, Monsanto.
Yeah, I eat as much organic as I can.
And even then,
if I can grow my food, I will.
But for the people that are poor, it sucks because we don't have a choice a lot of times.
Yeah,
we
you get an $8 salad or a $3
here's what people
burger.
don't realize. That if you have a 10 by 10 square of crappy land that gets some sun, you can grow enough
I have
food.
a garden. I have a garden in my backyard.
Yeah, they're good for you. I built 2 gardens, 2 boxes on this little. I was renting a house at one time.
Yep,
and I built
I'm renting
2 boxes, 5 by 10. Filled them up with dirt, or soil. Sorry to insult the dirt, and or insult the soil. No, soil is soil. Dirt is dirt.
Oh,
so. And I grew enough food to feed half the neighborhood. Okay. It was insane. The amount of food that you can grow. So, we live in this magical place where people say there's a food shortage, but you can find a jar of seeds that your grandmother put in your garage 50 years ago, stick that into the soil, and then water, the most valuable substance on earth, will fall from the sky and food will grow out of the ground. Okay. Yep. Don't tell me there's a food shortage. Yeah.
Oh, I have a question about that.
Intelligence shortage.
What do you?
Absolutely. I mean, people don't know. They don't know how to grow their own food now and stuff like that. It's schools aren't.
See, I grew
teaching.
up growing my own food, so
don't you wish that's what they taught you in school?
Yeah, schools are not teaching what they're supposed to be teaching.
Not not certain schools, I guess.
David,
guys, I got to wrap up. I got another interview. Any final questions?
Yes. What about the all the talk about the planes that are changing our climate to whatever, like put clouds and and hide the sun?
Oh yeah,
I've been screaming about that for well over a decade, and people said it was a conspiracy theory, but now they admit it. They do it, and I don't believe it's for the reasons only that they tell us, but I believe they're hiding stuff. They're hiding the sky. They're trying to disconnect us from the energies from the heavens above, which are very close. It's all a spiritual war. If you watch when there's nice cumulus clouds and all of a sudden they start spraying, those clouds just kind of turn into a slurry. I kind of look at the heavens above filled with intelligence. Like clouds are non-physical intelligence. The stars are souls above us, right? And everything manifests down here on the earth plane at a higher density.
It's very interesting.
Gino, question?
No, tell me your app again.
My app is the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. If you just point your camera at this QR code, it'll show right up. There's a knockoff of it on the Android store. So make sure it's by Blue Water Bay. It's $2.99 in the US. And it's got a high rating. It's like the highest rated app in the App Store.
Got it. That's awesome.
Got it.
Check it. It's $2.99. There is a pop-up that says, would you like to subscribe for 99 cents a month? You do not have to. You can exit out and it won't show up again for the rest of the day. Right. And there's no wait. There's no ads. There's nothing. You still get everything. Okay. But if you want to subscribe because you love the app so much, feel free, but you don't have to.
That's awesome, Dave. We're going to definitely push your app. And anybody else? Questions?
Now, this was a really interesting podcast.
Eye-opening.
Yeah.
We thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for reaching out. And
thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me on. And also, listen, if you think this is stupid, get the app. Just watch it every day when you have breakfast. Hit that daily video. Make sure you turn on when it says allow notifications. and then make sure you say allow to read the notification. And then every morning when you see that notification, just hit it while you're having your breakfast. Watch us. I do short videos during the week, longer ones on the weekends, and your mind will be blown.
You did a good job today. Well, thank you for doing that.
Guys.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Let's do a party with Miss Polly, please.
It's time to party with Miss Polly. The modern day Doctor.
Miss Polly, we just had an incredible show with David Weiss from the Flat Earth podcast. He had to go, but
very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
That was a lot of myth busting.
Yeah, it's like eye-opening
stuff
that Chino has taught us for years, actually.
I definitely have an open mind about that.
I do too.
I mean, you have to with stuff.
Yes, I agree with you.
I don't know. I guess I'm so old school.
Well, technically, old school is they used to think it was flat.
Well, that's like no.
That's way older.
That's way older than me, even. But I guess I guess because I was around, when the space program launched, and I still have, I have mixed feelings about all of that. So
I think when you feel that way, it just research a little bit, listen, watch, and keep an open mind.
I mean,
that's it.
I'm not saying my mind is closed,
right?
Because I have a very open mind. I mean, it's me,
right?
But there are still some things that I'm like struggling with. But that's me.
Spider, what did you think?
I didn't listen.
Oh, okay. All right,
I have no space in my head for belief.
Speaking of talking about myth,
okay.
So, one of the things that I like to do is let's talk about sex myths or myths dealing with the sexual.
It's Gino's favorite.
I know, right? But this one is the myth that menstruation is the ultimate baby barrier.
Say that again.
So basically saying that women can't get pregnant if they have sex while on their period.
Oh, I've always wondered that.
But while this is a highly unlikely scenario, the possibility of pregnancy isn't fully eliminated. So it depends largely on how long your menstrual cycle is. Most women, the menstrual cycle lasts for about 28 days. So usually those days are taken up by their period, during which unfertilized eggs and, basically the uterine lining is eliminated. So women are most fertile during the ovulation stage, which is anywhere from 12 to 16 days before the start of the next period. But some women have shorter cycles. So if your cycle isn't 28 days, your sperm could hide and can live inside the human body for up to 5 days. If the timing is right, sperm could be there long enough to survive the period and penetrate a fresh egg.
Wow.
5 days.
5 days it hangs out.
Whoa.
Well, that's really important information.
That is very important.
So
yes. So if you're going by
or
the counting method or the rhythm method,
So when you're bleeding, though, isn't that the actual egg coming out?
That's the uterine, the uterine lining. Yes.
Okay. So
that's the lining.
How would you get pregnant if you coming out?
It could still, if they have a shorter time frame, and your menstruation, it just depends on their cycle. I mean, if it lasts long enough and your sperm is lasting long enough, like say it's on the last day of their cycle, okay? And then you have that other cycle that starts, you could still be bleeding, but it's on the last day. The egg has may have already gone with the first day.
Right.
Got it.
Interesting.
But you're going to bleed. Maybe you bleed for 7 or 8 days.
All right.
That's true too.
The two posh girls ask the question of the day.
Is taking a nap with a friend of your desired gender a normal thing to do, or means more than friends?
A nap?
Yeah.
If it's just a nap.
I know.
It's just a nap and cuddles. What's wrong with that?
Everything is wrong with that.
Like, do you mean a snuggling nap, or you're just like laying next to each other? Or
Yeah.
It's
Either
also
way.
situation.
yeah,
too,
way situational.
You know?
There is no situation that if you are in a relationship, for instance, and you are with another,
But you didn't say that.
Well,
you didn't
no.
say if you're in a relationship.
that's what it means.
So it's fine if you're single.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
Right?
single, it kind of doesn't matter.
Wait,
right?
so if you're in a relationship
Mhm.
and you
And
want to take a nap with someone that you
That you're friends with, but you're not
that
intimate with?
so you're in a relationship and you're interested in someone,
No.
how do you even get to the
To the nap stage.
I don't even- I
That's a
don't
great
know.
question.
I'm like, hey, let's take a nap.
I would not be
Hey,
happy
I'm
if
tired. You want to take a nap?
if who I
Nope.
was with ended up alone napping with somebody else. So that, but if I'm, if you're,
Or if you just walked in on them and they
Single.
were napping,
yeah,
I mean,
care.
I would be like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, right.
right.
How did you get to that nap?
Yes.
Exactly. Why are you sleeping?
And I love naps. I love naps.
I love
I don't want
naps, man.
anyone in there with me. Fuck that.
No.
Get out my bed. Let me take my nap.
You want to nap peacefully
I
by
like to
yourself.
nap.
Gina, what do you think?
I'm not a napper anyways, but I wouldn't. If I'm in a relationship, I'm not napping with someone else. But I have never been in a situation where I've been on a couch and I was like,
A
You
bunch
wanna
of
take a
old
nap?
people nap.
I don't think that'd come up like that. I don't know.
Netflix and nap.
Yeah. I'm not a napper.
I don't.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a thing you announce.
I mean, I could definitely
You just
take a
do it.
nap, in the
Yeah,
middle of the
especially
day.
today.
Oh,
Definitely.
man. Naps
I
when
wouldn't
it's
say I'm a
raining are
napper,
the
but
best.
I could definitely take a nap.
I before we stop, by the way, I had put a poll up on my Instagram about flat or round, and so far in like an hour and a half, it's been like 150 people have voted round, and one person has said
No
flat.
way.
So it just kind of
Wow.
I just wanted
That's
to share
very
that really fast.
interesting.
So we'll see maybe
Again, I feel I've always said this. You only know what
What
you've
you
been
know.
taught.
Yes,
Mhm.
for sure.
yeah.
I got a fun quote for that.
What's that?
So if a man is born ignorant to parents that are ignorant, in a society that is ignorant, lives a life of ignorance and eventually dies in ignorance, then ignorance is the norm. Then indoctrination can be called education, hypnotism can be called entertainment, criminals can be called leaders, and lies can be called truth because his mind was never his own. So
Wow.
Very
Deep.
interesting.
if you're taught something because it was taught to your parents and then you teach it to your grandkids, it's skipping generations. You never know anything different. That's normal.
Right.
Yep.
Everyone
Makes
just,
sense.
that's what I was taught growing up. The only reason I even got into it is because Patrick told me we didn't land on the moon. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Of course we landed on the moon. And so then I started looking up to prove him wrong and I couldn't. And
We
that's what
questioned it, and that's
Fell down the rabbit hole.
and then that was it. It started the whole thing.
That's what happened to me too. I was just kind of on YouTube actually, and a lot of things are banned on YouTube.
A lot.
And I still went down that rabbit hole, and then you get out of YouTube and you start doing your own research, and it's like, wow. I mean, like I've said, I'm not really 100 either way because I don't trust the powers that be. But I mean, there are a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah. There are.
Yeah, I always say, like, I want to always stay logical. I don't want to just take what I hear and go, okay, I run with it. Like,
Yeah. Question everything.
Yeah.
everything.
I think at the end of the day, like the earth, obviously, we can think all kinds of things. I think what I worry about most is my health and what I'm feeding myself. And
Yes. You are what you eat.
and the health care. And that is like the biggest for me because I think whether or not, I don't know how much you can change by thinking it's flat around, truthfully, in our lifetime. But I think the most important thing of the questioning everything makes you think of like your health and your longevity.
I think for me, that's the reason why I got into growing, because I grew up growing my food.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
makes sense.
I mean, there was like times where, because we live next to a lot of farmland. So we had almost an acre as a garden, like, because we lived out in the country, and we grew like everything. And then we canned it. And so we had food for the winter. And for now, it's like, I mean, when I lived in Plano, I had my own garden. And now I'm like growing my garden again. I'm like, okay, I rent, but you know what? I can build a box, and I've got tomatoes that got destroyed at the last hail. I was so sad because I had to replant. But at the same time, I mean, a lot of vegetables, and sometimes I get impatient. I'm like, come on, would you just grow already? Because it's so expensive to buy organic.
Yeah,
it is. And
I'm kind of in there's not a lot of organic around here. And I mean,
the
I live in
organic
Amarillo.
isn't necessarily really organic.
I agree with you.
And that's just it, is because I remember the planes flying over with the pesticides, and we lost an entire garden because they sprayed pesticides and sprayed our entire garden.
Oh my goodness.
And it killed it. We couldn't eat it.
You guys, I wanted to end the show and then do a question of the day and Miss Party by itself really quick before we get our next guest on, because sometimes those short shows are really cool. And wanted to thank everyone for listening.
Thank you so much.
Follow us on all our social media pages on everything. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok,
Twitter,
Facebook, Twitter, all over. So follow us. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.